Okay, we are recording, I think. Yep.
Super. Thanks,
Cool.
my guy.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
All covered.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do you want me to
Welcome,
introduce
Will.
myself again quickly, or
Yeah.
shall we?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
quickly just say I'm Will Henniker. I'm a lecturer in games design. I've got a history of being a swimming teacher, water polo coach that I do voluntarily. I'm alongside my lecturing and my pastoral responsibilities. I'm a games designer. I make board games, physical games. I'm a digital games designer. I make some windy games. I do lots of work for exhibits. So in the Beanie Museum, I've got an interactive table at the minute with the small films exhibit, which you can go and see today. It's still live. It's going to be live for another year.
Where is Will? Where is it available?
That's in the Beanie Museum in Canterbury, and it's a small films exhibit.
Ah. Okay. Super. I'll get a chance
Yeah, and I
to
think
visit.
that's pretty much it. I do lots of little things. I do lots of digital things, lots of physical things, anything fun to do with technology and
Mate.
games. So
Amazing.
yeah. And then so just the app, the reason we're here.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I noticed when I was swimming teaching that there was an issue that we had where we had to give really accurate demonstrations to swimmers, and it wasn't always possible to do that. So, for example, when we were trying to demonstrate a breaststroke leg kick, which is a symmetrical motion with your feet, impossible to do standing up, you'd have to do it with your hands. And so, the correct way the correct way we would do it would be feet up here, around and together. But the problem is, if you're quite a literal visual learner, is especially with young children, they'll just start doing this with their hands. So that's one problem. But also, if you've got mobility issues, or if you're perhaps an older coach or teacher, you would struggle to be able to get your arms up in the correct position to do demonstrations. So this is where you need to be for proper streamline, for backstroke, and even for butterfly, having your arms up here. Even I struggle with that one. That puts quite a lot of strain and stress on my shoulders. So even though
Oh, here it's.
so I'd have to warm up before I do my
I,
demonstration.
but I've never tried it or versed it butterfly strokes.
Well, maybe my app will be able to help you go.
Yeah.
So
Hoping to learn from your app as well.
yeah. But the idea was essentially there used to be these things that were little laminated paper mannequins where you could articulate the body parts, but only 2D, so a side perspective. So you couldn't do the breaststroke demonstrations with it.
Okay.
But they worked quite well, and so the idea was to make a digital one of those that swimming teachers could use already on their tablets like this, that they would all have for doing registers and things. So we'd regularly take the register of the swimmers there on these kind of tablets, just in a waterproof case. And the idea was that they could then, if they couldn't do a demonstration or they couldn't do it accurately, they would have access to this app that they could use to demonstrate the correct stroke, essentially. And yeah, so I did actually get round to it's basically finished. It's ready to be published. I just need to publish it. I did a round of play testing with swimming teachers. So I say play testing, it's probably the wrong word because it's not really a game. I did a round of testing with swimming teachers, and it worked really well. It was really responsive. I designed the user interface to be quite bulky and chunky, so you can easily click the buttons through in the case and in the water if you needed to.
Yeah, that's what we want. Inside the water, I have to operate it if possible.
Exactly. So, there was quite a lot of consideration for the functional side of it, as well as the sort of visual presentation side. At the minute, it's 4 strokes that can be scrubbed through like a YouTube video, and the 3D model can be rotated to get different angles. You can play and pause. And the long-term goal is to have different types of character. At the minute, it's a character which is just a white male in swimming trunks and a hat, pretty generic, but I'd like to have different variations in skin tone and race, but also male and female swimmers, potentially, so you can cater who you're teaching it to. So if you're teaching young children and you've got, say, for example, a young girl, you could select to have the young girl on the screen and show her that way.
I understand.
So that's a long-term goal. At the minute, my aim is to just publish it as a free resource for swimming teachers. I'm getting there. So that's coming sort of end of this year, hopefully, when I get round to it, when I get the time,
I'm
because all this was done
really
for
excited
sort of
to
free.
learn that will. I'm really excited to learn from that. Will. And how far have you done the research for this application? Will?
Have I done the research? Sorry for this.
Yeah.
So I was quite fortunate, really, where obviously I was a swimming teacher for a significant amount of time. So I've worked in the leisure industry for about 11 years. I still regularly coach for free. So I volunteer with Faversham Water Polo Club, Canterbury Masters Swimming. So I'm still quite involved in the sport. So I knew sort of firsthand what the problems were, how the strokes needed to be demonstrated. Which is obviously the correct way to doing it to the governing body's standards, but also the difficulties, the functionality, the requirements that a swimming teacher would need. So, for example, I knew from the get-go that it would need to be easy to navigate in the water, and when you loaded up the app, it shouldn't have a menu or a flash screen. It should load straight into the stroke. So if you're doing a demonstration on poolside, you don't have to say, okay kids, wait 1 second while I load up the app. It's okay, let's look at this, and it's done and it's there. So
Okay, we shouldn't have to wait for the
so it just goes in. So I did a fair amount of research. Well, I knew a lot at the time about that issue. I did a fair amount of research as well into obviously the technical side of it, which was something I sort of knew how to do anyway, but I needed to do a bit of research there. But also existing products and existing apps, and there's just none that sort of do it the way I've done it, in a sense. So
no other apps that has done these features before, Will? Is there no other app?
There are examples. There are things that use videos, for example, but nothing at the time anyway. There could very well have been between now and when I produced the app. There wasn't anything that directly competed with what I wanted to achieve with it. So
that's
it
one.
was either paid or it would use funny looking models at the minute. Mine looked quite cartoony and simple, because it wasn't about the shape of the person, but more about the correct nature of the stroke, or the technique. Sorry,
because as far as I played many games on the iPad and iPhone apps, they have really good features in their own games. So that's what I for learning every sports activity. So that's what I asked you.
Yeah. If there's any game, there's no games in this one. So this isn't a game. So the way we classify game is we have there's loads of different ways to define games. Lots of people argue different things. One of the ones that I tend to subscribe to quite a lot is the idea that all games should have some form of opponent. So in chess, your opponent is the other person you're playing against. But in something like Minesweeper, the opponent is the computer that's placing the mines around. And so for this to be classed as a game under that framework, it just doesn't, because there's no opponent, there's no objective. It's just really a tool, a serious tool. But you could certainly gear this type of thing to be a game. But the risk is really with the safety of learning to swim, where you should really do it with a teacher or someone that's qualified, because obviously water is very dangerous. So, but yeah, in terms of making this a game, gamifying it, you could give sort of extrinsic rewards that we already give swimmers, like badges and things, right? So they get a badge when they pass a level of swimming. They get a badge when they can swim a certain distance and do a certain numbers of stroke. So you could integrate that into this app. Yeah. So
sorry, what we can integrate? Come up again. What we can integrate?
Sorry, one more time, Grish.
What we can integrate is that what did you
sort of like collecting rewards and things.
Rewards.
Yeah. Perfect timing. My iPad or my tablet is charged up enough to show off the app, so I'll spin it around in a second. So the tablet I'm using is quite old. It's a development tablet, so it's sort of loading in now as we go, and I'm hoping it is going to load up. The last time I used it, it loaded up fine. So
Samsung or iPad?
I don't know, to be honest. It's I think it might be a Samsung one. It's a Lenovo one. So it's very cheap. I think I paid £40 for this. Would you believe?
Just £40.
Just £40. So yeah, here it is. So essentially, I've just got to. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully.
Yeah. Wow! Super. Yeah.
The full. Sorry,
good.
I think I'll try and line it up with the camera.
Yeah. Super well, super well.
So my tablet's still a little bit flat, so it's not going to run very well. But
But it's
essentially,
clear,
from
yeah.
here, what you can do
Clear.
is you can,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see me interacting. Uh,
Yeah.
you can slide the scrubber along
Uh,
and pause
okay.
the stroke in the right place
Okay.
to show the right technique, and you can switch.
Yeah. Top angle, side or front or back?
Yeah, so I can spin.
Oh, butterfly stroke. Yeah. This is what exactly I expected. Super.
So,
Yes.
so I can also rotate this way as
Ah,
well
super well.
to show from the
Amazing.
top angle. And the good thing about
Ah,
this as well is I can show specifically if I'm talking about the leg kick with Summers, I
yeah.
can show exactly the correct
Ah,
timing, but also if I scrub forward where they come up, around, and together. So do you remember when I showed you with my hands that motion?
yeah.
Here
Three
you can
hands
see
is
the full stroke, so you can see the pull up with their arms, legs come up
yeah.
and kick round and together into a glide.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, I can. Yes, super well.
So yeah, so this
Uh,
was this, and this is it. So obviously it runs a bit slow on my tablet because it's a development one and it's on charge. I mean, it's got 2% battery, I think. Um, but that is essentially the app, and so the idea is to have it produced for web,
mm,
um, and have it just accessible for swimming
yeah.
teachers just to use if they really need it. But yeah, that's sort of it. Yeah,
Yeah, super. And
not a
you're
big thing
preparing it.
really.
You're preparing it for every different strokes, right? For the backstroke and also for butterflies.
Yeah, so it's all the
Uh,
four recognised strokes in there by Swim England, the governing body in the UK. So front crawl, backstroke, breaststroke, and butterfly are the four main
but
strokes it recognises, and it's got scope in there to do lots of different strokes. So there's life-saving backstroke, which is an older way of doing it, which is just two hands.
mm,
Which I could add in. There's egg beater kick, which you'll be familiar with, which is something I could add in there as well. But that's all sort of a little bit out of the scope of this project. So
super. I was not aware about this backstroke, the old method. After you said only, I knew about it.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
aware about
cool.
it. Super.
Yeah, so that
And and is there any possible to like learn water polo also? Like, are you trying to get into any games with this learning? Because I struggle hard with when we throw the ball, the way we have to hold it, and
yeah.
the any sort of water polo things.
So
Because the
always the
leg,
hardest part is the fact of the
I
water.
struggle with the leg beat.
Yeah,
You knew, and please make an app for that. Please.
everybody struggles with the egg beater, Garish. Don't worry. Yeah, it's gamifying the aquatic sports is hard
Yeah.
with digital stuff because
Mm.
of because of the water and running technology alongside it is difficult. So typically, the way we tend to gamify things is sort of in person. So we make activities games. So we see who can, for example, in water polo, we see who can hold up the ball for the longest, and we gamify. We add challenge to it. We add rewards to it. We add punishments.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the methodology there. But there is room for technology integration.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is to learn the technique alone. Whatever it is, if it's X beat or it's in holding a ball or to throw it or just the techniques to what's the right way to handle it. That's all. That's what I mean.
The right way to teach it, do you
The
mean?
right way to like this to learn as a swimming, as a water polo,
Yeah.
to right way. Just the movements of the bodies. That's all. What's the right way to hold a ball, to throw
Yeah.
it. Just these basic things, not the game, but to learn the game.
Yeah, we call them the individual skills, those bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're hard to pick up, and obviously, like for example, this app could help with that
Yeah.
if I'd integrated it for water polo. But
Super.
really, this is here to solve the problem of swimming teachers and coaches not being
Yeah.
able to accurately demonstrate a stroke for one reason or another, which does arise as a problem. So a lot of the
Oh,
time, it's
what?
mobility.
Why is that, Will? Why is that?
Well,
I
it's
mean,
mostly to do with mobility or the fact that, for example, if I was to try and demonstrate to you the full breaststroke stroke in one go, I would have to do the arms and the legs separately. I couldn't show you. And I also couldn't show you the head down glide.
Mm.
Because I'm standing up for one. I can't lay on the floor and do it because I need to be able to pull through the floor, the water. So
Yeah, yeah. I remember you taught me about the egg beat, about the water only. I mean, you were upstairs and you were showing it. Yes,
yeah,
were demonstrating.
so it's hard to do, and this app sort of hopefully solves that or resolves it somewhat.
Super, well, super.
Cool.
Of course, and as you're a technician and also game designer, this also helps you to get into these apps. I mean, it's more helpful to get into the sports and this technology together, right?
Yeah, it's totally opportunities there for me to do it. I mean,
Mm.
it's such an unexplored field. Sort of, it's only recently having technology integrated with sports become a thing, and it's sort of very still to this day.
Mm.
Not something that's been massively explored. So yeah, it's useful to be able to do it. It's definitely something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
So
Because as we connect every skills together, it produces something like an app like this or a future any sort of VR. What I was imagining is like even now we have arcade games playing in the arcade machines, right? What if an arcade game is inside the water, wearing VR glasses, and we are all characters inside the water,
yeah,
like that? I was
yeah.
imagining,
Maybe one
yeah,
day when the technology's there. Yeah, at the minute, still the boundary is the water and the
yeah.
technology. But maybe one day. I mean, we're getting there. We are getting there. So things are now
Maybe-
more waterproof. It's just weirdly, as humans, we're just not naturally geared to swim. So
yeah. Naturally geared. We're not naturally geared means like what do you mean?
I mean,
Sorry.
we're not fish. Swimming isn't a
We're not
natural. It's not a natural movement for us.
natural
So
move. Yeah,
so
exactly.
we're not. We can swim. We've adapted to swim, but we're not like, for example, like a fish. We're not, or a frog. We're
Born.
not born to swim. We're not
Yeah,
evolved to that point yet.
super. Well. So, and what's your PhD plans, Bill? What are you planning to? What's your topic about research? PhD.
So my PhD at the minute is still under or open for debate. So I'm not actually sure what I'm going to do in yet. I'd like to explore
Mm.
potentially. Well, there's a few different ideas I've got at the minute. Depending on how AI goes, for example, I'd like to look at the cultural impact of AI on our creative communities, especially around the southeast. I would like to
Okay.
yeah, so in Kent sort of area, because we're quite a unique part of the UK for our terms of culture and our
Okay.
sort of creativity. There's not a huge amount of it, so
I mean,
uh,
culture, language, or what kind of culture? I mean, Christianity.
everything that comes under that sort of blanket. So quite a
Oh,
wide
okay.
topic. But I'd also like to explore potentially historical board games. So do
Mm.
some research on, for example, board games across Europe, which is a completely different culture and variety to what we have over
Okay.
here. So far, weirdly, much less about war and taking things and more about driving trucks or going to on holiday or cooking food. It's much more, yeah, much less about war. So where they've had much less of that propaganda, or they've had historical events that have put them off of the topic of fighting and the topic of war. Then that's where those historical games have come from, or those what we call Euro games have come from this sort of idea
Oh,
that war is a
oh,
taboo subject, as in we shouldn't do war. War is bad, which it absolutely is, and so it's just not something that's desirable in board games because games are fun, supposedly.
yeah, yeah. You mean that board games are leading to? I mean, have led to war in the history? Like, do you relate that? I mean,
Yeah, so board games in Europe are, well, from Europe, are typically more based around, well, fun.
Greeks and Roman,
Fun, yeah, like not
or
war, basically, not fighting.
mm,
More sort of like
yeah.
industry and worker placement games, like running things and managing things rather than fighting and scrapping for things. So, yeah.
Okay, okay.
The
You mean?
games about war still do exist, and they still are their own market. But there's a sub market for games like about running train stations, which is equally as interesting, and something we don't see in the UK. So
Oh, something is not available in UK. It's only in
yeah, it's
Europe.
not as big in the UK. It's not as big in the UK.
Oh, okay, okay. Is that a traditional practice of Europeans from the ancient days, Will?
No, it's sort of there was a period in time um, after World War Two, essentially,
Mm,
where it's sort
mm.
of become more mainstream, as you can understand. Yeah, so that's sort of where that idea comes from. is as at a really high level. There are other factors, obviously, but yeah, it's not a topic for today.
Super, Will. But it's a good topic. I mean, I've never heard about the European board games and connecting it to the war. Okay, yeah, that's a new perspective, and
Yeah,
that's
no,
good.
totally. Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into, I'd say. Cool.
Super, Will, super. I'm not just good at only. I mean, not good at, but I'm just an average player of chess games and the normal board games. I just.
Yeah. Well, even chess, right? Chess is a game about war, right? So,
Yeah.
but it's not like, for example, if you look at Ludo,
Yeah.
Ludo is way different. It's not a war game, Ludo. It's a racing game,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Super. And which board game are you so much interested with? I mean, which board games did you
Yeah, so
really love?
Euro games, I really like games like Catan, Carcassonne, so sort of like city building, like games that you build cities and compete with other players. Worker placement games is the term for them, where you place tiles down to score points, essentially. But also games with quite novelty and unique mechanics that behave in weird ways and do different things, stuff that's outside of rolling a dice and moving a piece, essentially. So.
Oh, is that all like an English-based game, English culture-based games, whatever you
Yeah,
said
the
now?
UK culture is pretty boring for it. There's not a huge amount out there, so I'm more interested in the European stuff, to be honest. Anything outside the UK.
Uh, as we are Asians, we used to play only Asian games of the board games. We are not used to this Western thing, so I don't understand what you've said. But if I
Yeah,
see and handle and play it, of course I'll understand.
yeah. No, check out what are some good recommendations for you. That'd be fun to play. Yeah, well, actually, I reckon Catan and
I'm
Carcassonne
more
are
of
good ones.
mind games. Bill. I'm more of interested in mind games like this chess or this Chinese checkers. Do you know about Chinese checkers?
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
star, the star like thing. We have to
hmm
move the every coin, create a space on that.
So
It's something
it's
else.
interesting because Chinese checkers, again, there isn't that war theme over the top. So with
Mm,
checkers and Chinese checkers and games like Go,
yeah,
there's no
yeah,
theme about fighting over the top. But chess, specifically chess, is about fighting. It's about war. So it's
yeah,
interesting to
yeah.
see the origins from those. You know.
Mm. And chess is also like implemented. We can learn the strategies of the chess and implement in a practical life as well. I think so.
Exactly. Yeah. Garish, I'm running out of time here. Sorry.
Okay, okay.
Is there anything
Yeah,
else
no
you wanted
worries,
to
no
ask
worries.
before I've got to shoot off? Or
Yeah. I just wanna, if you wanna telling more about anything about the app application, you just tell on and yeah, we can
yeah,
just.
sure. So at some point in the coming year, I'll be releasing it for free on the web as a web app that you can just shortcut on your phone, and it will just be an open, accessible thing. I'm not
Mm.
sure what the domain it will be under yet, but if you're interested in it, I can forward it to you when I get round to making it.
Yeah,
But it will
because
essentially be
yeah,
a free asset that I'll just produce through my own. Even my portfolio or my LinkedIn, I'll publish it out
super.
there. Will be where it will go. So.
Yeah, I just want to have a small poster of your application, Will, like a logo design or a name, and just because I want to post it on my presentation that Will
Of
has
course, yeah.
produced.
Let me grab that for you
Like,
now. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure I've still got something from my when I was working on it. Give me a second.
yeah, please.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just looking for.
Please.
Trying to find. If not, I'm sure I'll be able to send it to you after. But I'm certain I've got it to hand. So
Okay, later on.
give me. I should be able to
Yeah,
find it.
later on. Yeah.
Give me 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Attachments.
No worries.
I'm just searching through my horrible amount of files. I'm certain it's in one of these folders here, though. If it's not in one of these folders, I'll give it to you another time. But give me just a little bit longer. Game project stocks. Not in that one. MISC projects. MA. Collaborative practice. Sumdo. Not in there.
Just a few slides of the game alone. That's all. Just I want to publish it in in my presentation. That's all.
Yeah, I'm certain I've got the submission weirdly, for this, because this was obviously started as part of
Can
an MA project.
yeah, can you make a screenshot from your iPad if possible? Screenshot of
Yeah,
the
either way, I'll send you a screenshot of that.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do it. I'll find it after for you, Garish, and ping it over to you. Okay?
No, no worries, Will. That's fine. I just have like still a week of time to finish the my 25th, so you
Yeah,
can
sure.
just before.
I'll get it
Before
to you
20.
today. I've just got to find it. That's all.
Yeah, no worries. And video also, and this that's the final thing.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got a video. I'll have to find what I've got for it. I'll see if I can dig up my old submission for it. All right?
Yeah, super, super.
Cool.
Yeah,
Okay, Garish.
thanks. Yeah,
Take
you
care.
can share me later on, okay?
I will
Yeah.
do. Yeah. I'll send you a
Thank
recording
you.
as well. I'll send you that recording. I'll do that now.
Thank you.
Okay. See you later, Garish. Take care.
Have a good.
You too.
Take care.